Okay. Buenos días, everyone. Welcome to our program, La Hora del Cafecito, a program dedicated to all those in our community who are living with autism, to their family members, and all those who support them. My name is Lourdes Quiñones, and I am a card consultant assigned to the primary age group. I am also a pediatric physical therapist and a special education teacher. Before we get started, I would like to ask all of you who are watching us at this time to please give us a like and let us know that you were visiting us in our page by leaving us a comment. We'd love to hear from you, and we'll try to answer questions or comments as they come in. But let's start by presenting our La Hora del Cafecito team members and our guests for today's interview. I am joined via Zoom by my colleagues, Jasmine Castellanos. Buenos días, Jasmine.
Buenos días.
Olivia McDonald. Buenos días, Olivia.
Buenos días. Good morning.
And Maggie Aldana. Buenos días, Maggie.
Buenos días.
Jasmine Castellano is a card consultant assigned to the groups of constituents in the middle to high school ages. She is a licensed mental health care professional and is a mother of 3 children, one of whom is diagnosed with ASD. Bienvenida, Jasmine.
Thank you.
Olivia McDonald is also a card consultant assigned to the same group of constituents in the primary ages as I am. She's an excellent public health professional and a sister of a younger sibling who is living with ASD. Bienvenida, Olivia.
Thank you, Lourdes.
Our co-host, Maggie Aldana, is an excellent special education teacher, is the new chair-elect for the CARDS Constituent Board, and has 3 children, 2 of whom are diagnosed with ASD. Bienvenida, Maggie.
Thank you.
Today we have the privilege to interview Anya Hernandez Cruz from the Florida Department of Education's Vocational Rehab Program. Anya is going to be sharing important information about this program, which is going to benefit our audience so much. So please help me give a warm welcome to the program, our guest, Anya Hernandez Cruz. Buenos días, Anya, and welcome to La Hora del Cafecito.
Buenos días, thank you.
Okay. But before we get started, I would like to remind everyone watching us that throughout this program, we ask that you keep an open mind, a positive attitude, and use respectful language so that we may all feel safe within this platform. Now, we would like to ask again, those who are watching us, to please share any questions or comments that you may have regarding the Vocational Rehab Program in the comment section below. We will continue to monitor your questions and comments, and we'll respond to them as quickly as we can. So let's get started. Anya, can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, of course. Well, first of all, my name is Anya Hernandez Cruz. I work as a vocational rehabilitation supervisor for the Largo office in Area 4. I obtained my master's program in rehabilitation counseling back in 2013 when I was working as a VR technician. Right after I obtained my master's, I was promoted throughout the different positions in VR. I worked as a counselor, senior counselor, consultant, and now a supervisor. When I obtained my master's, I was very pleased to be working in the field because this education equipped me with the necessary knowledge to better understand the world of disabilities. I was able to gain knowledge about the different functional limitations an individual may have in terms of employment, about their skills, strengths, and also potential in terms of employment. I learned about all those community resources that we have in the community and that we can use to improve the individuals with disabilities lives. So since then I've been working here, and that's what I enjoy doing.
Awesome. Well, welcome to La Hora del Cafecito. Very impressive. Jasmine?
So, buenos días, Anya. Could you please explain to us what is vocational rehabilitation?
Of course. Vocational rehabilitation is a federal and state agency that helps people with disabilities to prepare for and obtain employment. We provide a variety of services that are extremely individualized, depending on the individual's needs. In other words, The services that we can provide to an individual will not necessarily work to another individual, despite they may have the same diagnosis impression, the same medical condition. And these services will be provided throughout, a length of time that's going to vary from person to person as well. When we speak about VR services, we can mention guidance and counseling. We can mention evaluations to determine the eligibility for the program. We can also mention vocational evaluations, discovery evaluations, training in regular school settings or on-the-job training. We can also mention employment services, job coaching services, and also supported employment services and extended services. It's important to mention that when an individual obtains a successful employment goal, we also help negotiate accommodations for the workplace.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Excelente.
Thank you, Anya.
Maggie?
Good morning, Anya. How can individuals who qualify for these services apply for them?
Well, we have several offices throughout Florida, right? We have a website, it's www.vrworks.gov, in which you're gonna find the list of offices that we have in Florida, and you're gonna find the phone number and the fax number. Anyone who would like to apply for VR services can contact any of these offices. It's preferable if the person contacts the closest office to their place. Well, it all depends on what the individual, would like to do. And we're gonna call them back. We're gonna call them back and we're gonna schedule an appointment to have a preliminary assessment or initial interview with the assigned counselor to the case.
Thank you.
Wonderful. Olivia?
Yeah, and good morning, Anya. Can you please explain what the steps in the VR process are?
Of course. When an individual comes to a preliminary assessment, we are going to collect a lot of information about that individual. Employment history, if any, family situation, financial situation, academic skills. And during that day, during that moment, in the preliminary assessment, the individual is going to assign the application for services. And it's when the clock starts clicking, right? Ticking. We're going to have 60 days to determine eligibility for the program. We're going to either request medical records or we're going to refer the individual to new evaluations that could be either psychological, neurological, any type of physical evaluations, so we can determine the functional limitations, related to employment. Once we have determined the case eligible for service, we step into the new phase of the program, which is the plan development phase. During this phase, we're going to have 90 days to develop a plan. As I said before, it's going to be a plan very, very individualized, depending on the individual needs. Here, we're going to provide some other evaluations as necessary. It could be a vocational evaluation to help the client figure out, skills, aptitudes, interests, strengths, in terms of employment. Many times, especially young people, they come to VR and they don't have a good idea of what they want to do in the future. So we highly encourage, this young population to participate in vocational evaluations so we can figure out, what their aptitudes and interests are. Once we have an idea of what could be a feasible and achievable vocational goal, considering all these aspects, then we narrow down possible vocational options. And we also outline the services the client is gonna need to prepare to achieve this vocational goal. The next step of the process, after we sign this plan, the client and the counselor assigned to the case have to sign the plan. we move into another phase of the process, which is the in-service state of the process. Here, we're going to provide all those services we agreed upon during the plan development phase. And once the client has received all these services to prepare the client for employment, is when we move into the next step of the process, which is refer for employment services. During this phase of refer for employment services, the client is going to work with a job coach. A job coach is going to be of great help, not only to help the client to write a resume or polish an existing resume, but also to provide some training in regards to accepted work behaviors, training in regards to what would be expected at a workplace, training in regards to how to interact, with each other, how to follow policy guidelines, at the workplace. We will also help the client to find job leads in the community. We're going to negotiate any possible accommodations that might be needed for this specific client. Once the client is employed, depending on the type of employment, we're going to follow up that client on the job either for 90 days or 180 days. Depending on the category of service the case falls under, we will develop a supported employment plan, which means that the client is going to require more support during the employment phase. Supported employment is specifically designed for those individuals who have never been able to work or for whom work has been interrupted due to the severity of disability. So that's why we follow up the case for all this time, 180 days, to make sure the client is stable at work. Once this case is closed successfully, specifically a supported employment case after 180 days, we can provide extended service, or we will make sure that the client will continue receiving extended services for a specific amount of time. And the idea is to ensure the client is stable at work. The client is receiving the accommodations that the client needs to be productive at work. This is VR. This is what we do here. We take the individual from beginning to end. We provide a variety of services. We provide guidance and counseling. We make sure that all supports are in place so the individual can be successful in employment. Not only obtaining that employment, but maintaining that employment in a way that we can help the individual to enhance independence.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Very well said. Thank you so much. Jasmine?
Yes, is there a charge for all the services that you guys provide?
Well, we have some services that require a financial participation assessment. Consequently, VR is going to look at the individual or the family income to determine if there is a financial participation towards the cost of VR services. However, if an individual receives any type of public assistance, and we mean Medicaid, Medicare, could be Hillsborough County Healthcare, food stamps, or any type of public assistance, even Medicaid with shared cost, that would make the individual exempt of financial participation. In other words, the client wouldn't have to pay towards the cost of these non-exempt services. Something else that we need to keep in mind, if a client is not an American citizen or is not an American resident, as long as the client has a work permit or authorization to work in the country, the client can receive VR services. But since this is an state and federal agency, we have to ensure that the individual is authorized to work in the country because this is an employment agency.
That's awesome to know. Thank you for sharing that information.
Yeah.
Okay, Maggie?
I had another question for you, Anya. I was wondering, in your experience, what is the greatest obstacle facing young men and women with autism once they finish high school?
Very good question. what I've seen, what I've noticed throughout the years is that these young men and women, they have a lack of work skills. They lack independent living skills. They don't have awareness about their functional limitations. They don't have awareness about their skills in terms of employment, their strengths, their potential, in regards to employment. And with this being said, many times we find that some of them have unrealistic expectations about employment.
Mm-hmm. And how can vocational rehab help to address the concerns that you just mentioned?
Of course, as I said before, we provide a variety of services that are very individualized. So I'm gonna go in detail now about the services. The main service that we're gonna provide throughout the VR process is guidance and counseling. We're gonna be talking to the client, we're gonna be talking to the family throughout the whole process. We're gonna present all the options, on the table, taking into account, as I said before, clients' functional limitations, academic potential, skills, strengths, aptitudes, interests, in terms of employment. But we have a variety of services that allow us to explore the client's potential. And I would like to mention specifically the vocational evaluations. The vocational evaluation is an evaluation that is going to help us determine those interests and those aptitudes that sometimes the client or even, I could say, the family are not aware of. Sometimes many of friends, since they look from outside, can tell what type of aptitudes we have, right? Mm-hmm. And with this type of evaluation, we're gonna help to narrow down vocational options. And we're gonna help the client to be more realistic. Sometimes we have someone who comes to the office and says, I want to be an astronaut, or I want to be a doctor. And when the client is participating in this evaluation, you see that the client doesn't like the block or has vertigo. So how am I gonna be an astronaut or a doctor with these issues going on? So the vocational evaluation is extremely beneficial to help understand our skills, our interests, what we can do when it comes to employment.
And I have to say, one of the things that are usually, I'm sorry to interrupt, that usually affect all young people, whether they have a disability or not. But I can see how that would be, right, because it has happened with my own children. But that's a great point that you brought up. So thank you for sharing that.
You're welcome. And many times, let me tell you, we find that some of these population have an idea of what they want to do. However, they are ambivalent. They're going in opposite directions because sometimes they even have the skills, and the aptitudes, but they don't know what path to take. So when we allow them to participate, or when we provide this evaluation to them, they have a better understanding of what the first option could be.
Exactly.
So this is guidance and counseling. So discovery, and I know you are familiar with the discovery process, is a more in-depth vocational evaluation, which is based on observations. We're going to observe the individual in a work environment, in the house environment, in any type of social environment, to have a good understanding, a thorough understanding of this individual's skills, interests, and I repeat the same words over and over again, but this is key, to find out, to figure out what the individual can do in terms of employment. So the discovery process is extremely beneficial for those individuals who have the most significant disabilities, because it helps us to customize a job for someone who may have severe significant disabilities. And at the same time, it's going to help us, to negotiate accommodations and prepare the path for the following or the next step, which is support employment services and extend the services for the client. We also have on-the-job training services. On-the-job training, well, it's very explicit. It says the individual is going to receive training on the job. Many high schoolers have never worked. And if they have done it, it might have been, as we say, under the table, or just this type of experience with a family member, right? Not necessarily having the opportunity to have a job coach next to them, right? Showing them what they need to do, allowing them to be in a real work environment with a supervisor, with real colleagues, right? Learning how to behave at the workplace and learning how to do the job, learning how to be productive. These on-the-job training services is extremely beneficial because they gain work skills, and this goes to the resume. So when they get the real job in the future, the prospective employer can see that they have worked, that they do have work skills, and the person, is somehow, familiar with the work environment. We also have, or we can help with independent living skills training. We're gonna refer the client out to agencies that provide independent living skills training, like Self-Reliance in the Tampa area. Specifically, it's located on Nebraska Avenue, if I don't mistake. They provide independent living skills training, and we are gonna monitor that training. As I said before, guidance and counseling is gonna be provided from day one till we close the case. All these services are gonna help them to have a better understanding of their, interests, aptitudes, functional limitations, skills, and potential, to employment.
Encantada, qué bien, qué bien. Jasmine?
Yes, what would you recommend to families of young men and women living with autism who are coming up on their graduation from high school?
Well, I would definitely recommend parents, to contact the as soon as possible. I mean, it's not a good idea to wait until they complete their high school. Mm-hmm. They can apply for the art services, at a very young age, as soon as they begin in high school. The sooner, the better. The sooner, more preparation for the adult life, for the work life.
Right.
Yes. Recently, we did a show, an interview where we talked about that transition training. Transition begins in kindergarten. So the sooner, and this population of students, of individuals, needs so much practice. So everything is like, we have to start from the beginning. Everything, all the independent, like you mentioned, the independent living skills that they need to succeed, we cannot wait until the last minute. So that what you just said is like key, is the sooner you start, repetition is the key, repetition is the key, repetition is the key. Get it? Repetition is the key. So practice, 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 right?
Agreed.
Agreed. Let me get off the box now.
So I did also want to ask, now that we're living in the time of Corona, and we've been asked to do social distancing, how are you able to provide your services?
We continue to provide services virtually. We are in contact with our clients via email, via phone, they can call anytime, and we're gonna return their calls, and we're gonna open up a case if they qualify for services. We're here, for everyone who needs our services.
Awesome.
Awesome.
Thank you. I loved how you were focused earlier in the conversation on, seeking out the potential in your clients. So that stood out at me in your response, and I love that. I was wondering if there was anything else you would like to share with our audience about the services and vocational rehab.
Well, don't wait to apply for services. We're here to help you. We are here to help you throughout the process so we can prepare you for employment, to be successful, to be more independent in life. Don't wait. Reach
Now
out to us.
I have a question. How late is too late? For the parents that didn't apply by the time their child got out of high school, is there an age limit?
No. It's never too late. We have the school to work units and we have the adult units. Anyone can apply for VR services. There's no limit in age. We have clients who are 60 years old, 45. I mean, as long as you want to work, you can apply for services. As long as you qualify for services and you want to work, this is the right place for you.
Thank you.
Amazing. That was a great question and answer. Along with the fact that as long as they have permission to work in the United States, everything else is taken care of. I love that. But anyway, we're almost at the end of the program, so I wanted to remind our viewers to please share your questions and comments below, because we will continue to monitor your responses and we'll put you in contact with Anya or anyone at the Department of Vocational Rehab so they can help you out and get you the information that you need. But before we go, I'd like to ask everyone a little favor. I always do. I always close the show like this. We ask that you could please fill out a survey that we're going to be adding at the bottom of this so that you can give us a rating. Let us know if this is important to you, this type of information, and how we did. It's a very easy survey, less than a minute. Just check, and then we'll love you forever. Anyway, I hope that you have found value in this presentation, and we invite you again to give us a like and also to share our cards Spanish Facebook with all your friends. So we're called La Hora del Cafecito. Our Spanish Facebook page is Grupo Card Español. So if you have any friends and family members that could benefit from this type of information in their native Spanish language, just make sure you share our page with them. And we meet every Friday from 10 to 10:30 via Facebook Live. And that's it. I'd just like to say goodbye, everyone. Have a great day. Thank you for joining us. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, Ana. Anya, thank you for being with us today.
Thank you, Anya.
You're welcome.
We'll see ya.